I would kick him right in his nuts. That's the thing. Like, if we got into it, he'd be thinking, well, unified rules and no touch in the eyes. I'll bite him right in the throat. What's happening, guys? Welcome to another edition of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I am your humble servant, Chael Son, and joined by the great Daniel Cormier. Daniel, what's happening, buddy?
I'm good, man.
Are you hungover?
No, I don't do it.
From the fights, yeah, but I get a high on the fights. I feel the post-fight blues.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing. Like, if I ever have to stay past a fight night to do something in the city we're in, it almost feels like the town's dead. Because it's like the expiration date was Saturday. We're supposed to go home, Chael. We're supposed to get up on Sunday morning, go home. When you're still here, it feels like there's just a dead city.
You know I would not accuse you of drinking. I mean, did you think I was accusing you of actually being drunk?
I did the other day. I offered you alcohol, not knowing you don't drink. So, yes, you would accuse me of drinking.
Performance enhancers only go into this body. His body's a temple. Hey, I got to tell you, though, when I do talk about the blues, that's a very real thing for me. I'm such a fight fan. You know, we had Slap going on this week. Then we got the big fights.
It was a big weekend.
I think we got some announcements. I mean, I think the announcement of Pereira Ankalaev Part 2 happened. That Dana said likely or possibly, but either way, whatever word he used at the post-fight press conference, it was stronger than the words he usually uses, which is where he scolds John Morgan and says, "I don't make fights on fight night." And you know, he said, "Yeah, we're probably going to rematch him." Daniel, I love the idea of Pereira at heavyweight. Now, I loved him at heavyweight as a pawn on the board to bring Aspinall and Jones together.
Yep.
Aspinall announced 2 hours after the press conference, he did this on his own YouTube page, that the deal is done with he and John, that they have come to terms, now they're just finding a date. So I just tell you.
He wants John to sign the contract.
Yes. Yeah? But if we don't need Pereira to possibly fight one of those guys because we got them together, then Pereira versus Ankalaev is the move I would agree with.
Yeah, you know.
I jumped around on that, but I wanted you to hear that in case you didn't know what Tom had said.
No, so Tom Aspinall is obviously the big part of this equation, right? Because he's the young heavyweight champion. When you would tell me that Pereira losing would almost encourage him to go up, I believed it. But now that you say as a pawn, okay. But when we watch Saturday and watch him and Ankalaev fight, it gives me the idea that I think he's kind of maxed out the weight he can go up.
Sure.
I don't think he's strong enough to deal with anyone bigger because the amount of pressure that Ankalaev was able to generate without the danger coming back at him like we expected, those heavyweights would kind of just walk right through what he was throwing at him.
Sure.
The fight Saturday, and I know there's been a lot of reactions, a lot of talk about what happened. The fight Saturday to me was surprising in the sense that, one, we learned that Pereira is a much better takedown defense than we thought, right? He understands wrestling better than we thought, or Ankalaev can't score takedowns as good as we thought. It's one of the two. And we also learned one more thing. Jamal Hill was right. Bro, remember the other day we were like, oh, sour grapes, Jamal?
Sure.
Sour grapes, because we were like, he said he's going to beat him with the striking.
Yep.
Bro, he did.
Yep.
What did he see in the build to this fight that he knew Ankalaev would have that success? Because I didn't see it when I'm watching as I built to this fight. But it was the striking of Ankalaev that allowed for him to beat Alex Pereira. But was it as simple, Chael, as the threat of the takedown? So even if he failed on 11 takedowns, was the threat of the takedown so great that Pereira couldn't get his hands going?
And, you know, it wasn't just Jamal that said he would beat him in the striking. Ankalaev told us, I'll beat him in the strike. But hold on. Is Ankalaev a man of his word? Because he did exactly what he said he was going to do. But he tried to take him down. He wanted to take him down. And yes, I do agree with what you said. I love that term, threat of the takedown. It did change Pereira. And the entire time that fight was going, I was expecting the big move, the big sprint by Pereira, just because he does that. He's like a horse. And when he can see the barn inside, man, that guy goes harder in the 5th round than he goes in the 1st round. It's one of the things that I really respect about him the most. He never got going. And the reason he couldn't, because he was worried about that doggone takedown. He couldn't quite step into those combinations, one punch at a time. They were kickboxing. Pereira won the kicking part of that. But he got outboxed all night. It really was a surprise. Ankalaev would dip a little bit outside, and he would throw that left hand. And Pereira would miss him, and Ankalaev would clinch him, and it was just rinse and repeat. And I bring you that, partner. There was nothing that I saw in those first 5 rounds that would reasonably lead me to believe that's going to change. I think that happens again. And what if it doesn't? What if Pereira wins? Then we go to the rubber match. I mean, I'm just suggesting for you a rematch surprised me for a few reasons, but believing we're going to get a different outcome, I think is tough. I thought Pereira looked better than he's ever looked. I've never seen Pereira show more skills. The entire narrative that just take that guy down and keep him there when he runs into it's done. It turns out that Pereira's a stud everywhere. However, he is likely to get ground out round after round. I thought he lost 4-1, and I think you had it a little bit closer.
I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't have a problem with Ankalaev being the champion. I didn't really have an opinion. I thought it was 2-2 because I scored 1 for Pereira. I gave Ankalaev 2. I scored 4 for Ankalaev, and 3 was just very, very competitive that I didn't know who won. But always err on the side and be as cautious as you can going into the fifth. And even in the fifth round, I thought it was a very close round. Pereira started well. Ankalaev fought well down the stretch. So John Anik called it 3-1. John Anik said, it could be 3-1 going into the fifth or 2-2, wherever you have it. It was 3-1 going into the fifth because the judges did score the fifth round for Alex Pereira. Now, Chael, I've never seen him backed up like that.
Yep.
That is where I think the problem was. And like you said, you waited for the sprint because there's this expectation. Everybody was saying stuff all week. The line's getting closer. The line's getting closer. Pereira started as a 2-1 underdog. Now he's the favorite. I was like, it's because of what you, on the way, Chicago, it's what you guys just did right there. We got 3 people here, Laura, Dan, and Weidman. We start talking about Pereira, and they just go crazy, right? They just go crazy. The public does too. And all of us sat there with an expectation that Pereira was going to get going, and he was going to start to pull away from Ankalaev down the stretch. It didn't happen because Magomed would not allow it to happen. He pressured him. And people are like, well, he just hugged him in the clinch. Dude, no 230-pound man wants to be held against the side of the octagon. Sure. That's a difficult thing to do. So to implement that as a game plan to be successful with it, it's very, very tough. And when it comes to a rematch, it's the right fight because there's just nobody else.
Yep.
There's no way you could say, I'm going to give Jamal, Yuri, I don't even know who's outside of those.
Like Raychik, but he's on a couple of losses.
Yeah. You can't say that any of these guys deserve to go before Alex. But I do know every time they fight, it's going to be a very hard fight for them.
I feel like I could walk into the UFC and I could help anywhere. If they needed me in the PR, they needed me in the marketing side, or they needed me in Lawrence's office, I feel like I could walk in and play, except the matchmaking room.
Yeah.
That really is a science. I mean, there's a reason they put Joe Silva into the Hall of Fame, and it's not because everybody liked him. I mean, it's
kind
of
a
art.
little mean mug too at times. Joe was so mean.
It is such an art, though. Joe was tough. Joe could be tough.
He could be tough.
But I will tell you this. When I say that, I mean, let's just use Yuri Prohaska. Okay, we put Yuri in there. What if Yuri wins? Do you see where that becomes a problem? You got to bring Pierre in, and now he's got to beat a guy that he's all beat a couple times.
Yeah.
You kind of have to go to the rematch. And by the way, when you talk about that position, and that really was the fight, holding him up against the fence, Pierre has got to get himself off. The bad news for him, that was the only thing keeping him up. The reason the takedowns weren't working is because he implemented that fit so well. So he kind of got stuck there. I do just look like if they were to do a rematch, I mean, look, what went wrong? Did Pereira, does he now in hindsight agree, being at Combat Karate, then followed by Australia, having a signing in Amsterdam and doing a clinic in England, does he now agree that the 5 weeks prior to the fight, that was wrong, that he could have trained different, that he could have prepared different? I would love to hear that.
What could he have done? Because you just said, like, you just said that you think that even in a rematch, right, he would have a tough time with this guy because of his style. What could he have done with that extra time? You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
Because it's not like the takedown defense failed him. It's not like he looked tired.
Yeah, his conditioning was on point.
Everything was on point. Like, so it's kind of like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? Yeah. So you went and made all this extra money, came to the fight and got beat. But when you watch that fight, it looks like it's going to be a hard fight every single time.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it would be a hard fight, right? That's why, I don't like to say the UFC doesn't match the best up. They do. But there are times where a guy has to go a little bit harder to get his chance because they know he's a very difficult fight. Bilal Muhammad won 11 fights before he got to a title. Leon Edwards won 11 fights because it was decision. Sometimes you win 2 fights. If you look impressive, you get to a title fight right away. That's business. They're not wrong for that. But Ankalaev had to win and win and win. When he got his chance, he got to draw. He had to win and win and win. When most would get another opportunity much sooner. Everybody knew that would be a tough fight for Pereira. It proved to be exactly that this weekend. Chael, I just saw something. on the rundown, and I'd never seen this before.
Okay.
It said, ask Chael.
I'm excited.
Ask Chael.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ankalaev saying he's being the bad guy now? He said, Ankalaev said this. He says he goes by Big Ank now. He takes shots at everyone on Twitter. Ali helps him with that part. I think. He goes after Roundtree after his win. Khalil Bumtree upset I beat his daddy.
Bumtree upset I beat his daddy. That's fire.
He said call him Big Ank.
That's fire.
You like that, Jim?
I'm into Big Ank. I mean, listen, he really does need to come out of his shell. And those guys from Dagestan, they really live by a code. I mean, first off, they're a true team. Second, they are not looking to be stars. Third, if you took the money and the cameras away, those boys are still showing up. I mean, they are here for competition first. I think Islam showed us that when he stepped in against Moicano without even flinching. I will just tell you, they actually have some real personality and character.
Yeah.
I mean, you know Khabib as well. He is secretly really funny.
Him and Islam, dude.
Islam is secretly really charming. They don't like to bring that out. They don't think they should say anything. It's one of those things. I love if Ankalaev wants to come out of his shell. I love it. I think it was good. This is an extension from that same region, but I think it was good for Chimaev. I like that you get a guy that's a little rough and you have a little bit of edge. If Ankalaev wants to do something to bring an entertainment aspect to the sport, I support it. It's the only thing that he's missing. Listen, the guy can squabble, and he is now the champion of the world, who took out our biggest star, not to mention.
Yeah.
I mean, Pierre was in an argument for GOAT, and not just of this time, of all time. And now Ankalaev has beaten him. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Jan Blachowicz is going to have an opinion in this. And you want to know who we need to talk to? It really is Pereira. Because one thing we can all agree, whatever Pereira does next will be for a world title. But he's talking about Drekus. That's not going to happen. But he's talking about, I'm talking about Tom Aspinall. Dana got on board with that a little bit. Now it looks like they're settled back down. But he's not going to go and jump and agree to that fight unless he believes he can change the outcome. And I am curious what he felt. Because his hands simply weren't landing. His calf kicks were. His defense was on point. He got outboxed, and I think that was a surprise for everybody. But it was the same shot. It was the same slip outside, throw a left hand, rush him into the fence. It was that same rinse and repeat that maybe if he worked on that one sequence, he could have some better moments.
I got a question for you, and this is just me going off topic. Pereira, after the match, seemed upset in the post-fight interview, talking about it was a little bit of a boring style when he was talking to Joe, right? You're still filled with emotion. The moment he was gone, they released video of him dancing in his room with Chuck Liddell and his team, and he seems okay, right, with everything. And
Chuck Liddell
was in there dancing with a fanny pack. Chuck Liddell's a pretty good dancer.
Still got the mohawk? He can move? Chuck can move?
Big Chuck now. That's not small.
Yeah.
He's Big Chuck.
Big Unc and Big Chuck?
Big Unc and Big Chuck. Chill.
So you're saying his spirits were good? Is that your point?
Yeah.
Dancing?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you like that? Because I want to see a guy. You know what I want to see? I want to see them dudes that lose in them basketball games that are crying and just mad.
Sure.
Disappointed. I want to know, like, is it okay that Pereira seems to be in such high spirits? Because, Chael, when I lost, it was crippling.
Yes.
It was like you go into depression.
Sure.
I want to see a guy that has that level of stardom, that's that big a deal, or maybe he feels like because he's at that place, he has to show the world that I'm okay.
Daniel, I'm with you. I mean, when I said I want to hear from Pierre, I really do. Does he think something can be different? Does he think his preparation wasn't on point? Does he think fighting 5 men in 500 days was not a good thing? I'm open to all of it. I won't look at his excuses. I'll look at it as reasons, but I am very curious about this performance, particularly if we're going to rematch him. Look, I thought that fight was very clearly 4-1, and most people had it closer than that. I thought it was clearly 4-1. There was nothing about that was screaming rematch or screaming controversy. And back in the day, before Dana would come down on these commissions and tell him to call the fight straight, back in the day, they'd have given it to Pereira. And if you ask the judges, they would give that same lie that's no part of the unified rules. Well, to beat a champion, you've really got to beat the champion, which is no part of our sport. They generally would have given it to Pereira. When they were about to make the announcement, I still thought if these judges know what time it is and they're reading the press clippings, they might give it to Pierre, but it's just not what I saw. And from a physicality standpoint, I didn't see anything that he could just change. In fact, I saw more adjustments than Ankalaev could make. I think Ankalaev's takedowns could stick if he set him up just a little different, if he fired just a little bit different. I mean, he pushed him into the fence instead of lifting him off his feet. I thought the one that could adjust and look better was actually Ankalaev, who won the contest.
Yeah. And so to many people's point, it would be like there will be no more unknown when it comes to Pereira anymore. So there will not be that fear or the respect that you have to give when you go in there for the first time, right? Pereira's gonna have to make some big adjustments. But you know when you say that to beat the man, you gotta be. I got a fat friend named Shane.
Okay.
And I'm going to put his phone number on the internet because he deserves it. Because he said that to me on Saturday.
I think you already got him when you call him fat. I think Shane are squared up now.
No, he knows that. No, he knows that. He tells me when I'm beating him in the video game, he goes, "You're so fat. You're embarrassing." He lets himself. He calls himself. Anyhow, bro, I know, Chael. I'm a horrible friend. Chael, I am a horrible friend.
That's funny.
You know what I do to him, Chael?
Tell me.
When we golf, we'll bet money.
Okay.
Right? And when he pays me, I just go,
no. Oh. Oh my gosh. I've always wanted to be able to do that.
I'm the bad guy, Chael.
Oh my goodness.
I'm secretly the bad guy.
Wow.
I'm John Cena waiting 20 years.
And what will he do? Oh my God. That's brilliant. I love that. That's brutal.
You like that?
Oh yeah. The only thing better would be if you lit that thing up with your cigar.
Oh
like
my
you got that mouth can and just lit that thing on fire.
Chael. He's just sitting there going, "Oh my God." Anyhow,
that's funny.
That is bad. Chael. So that is bad. The crazy thing about that, to beat a man, you got to beat the man.
Sure.
Yo, Ric Flair started that in professional wrestling.
Sure.
It's not real.
It's not true.
People stop saying that to me. Stop saying, "Well, you got to take the belt off the champ." Please stop. That started in the 70s.
That is not
with Ric
anywhere
Flair.
within the rules, right? It is not true, but we've had judges that have said it. We've had commissioners that have said it. The announcers will cover them. I'm just saying for you that maybe I need to give that a relook. I mean, maybe I do, because a lot of people told me that it was a lot closer. I think even, I think maybe it was you that thought it was tied up going to the fifth round. So maybe I just need to look at that again. Pierre couldn't get those hands going. Ankalaev stalked him down. Ankalaev dealt with those kicks. He went from southpaw to orthodox, which is a pretty hard thing to do. I mean, Ankalaev is not Mr. Dynamic. But doggone it, Daniel, he's hard to beat. I mean, that recipe about you punch a guy in the mouth a couple times and push him into the fence and hold him there, whether the crowd boos or not, that recipe has worked since 1993.
Meat and potatoes, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes just meat and potatoes.
You know, the double leg's out, though. Every wrestler thinks they got to go shoot a double leg.
I'm like, guys, you got to stop shooting double.
Greats like Daniel Cormier, greats like Henry Cejudo didn't hit double legs, man. You got to wrestle. You come there, you come to the body, you hit your inside trip, you're on a body lock, you snap him down, you push, you pull, you dirty box. All they do is a double leg.
It ain't working. You know what you could do?
It's not working.
What you can do is you can hit a single, move him off the fence, run him back to the fence and collect the double leg.
Sure.
But to just shoot a straight double, it's done.
Right.
Like everybody, the first day you walk into an MMA gym, I want to be a fighter. You're a striker. Let's teach you to defend a double leg.
Yep.
And everybody didn't have one like you where you just kind of run them over.
Sure.
Because these guys now, they find the fence. Unless you can hit them, put them down right there. The moment they're able to get to that fence and get their leg split, you ain't taking them down.
I just told my team this yesterday. I said, guys, if you hit a double leg, you must score right then. You got to get him down or run him over. If it doesn't happen, sticking with it is just going to cost you energy. You're trying the fence and you're hanging on to it, his butt cheeks for 5 seconds. Like, it's not going to happen. It's got to be right now. But if you don't, you can still come up. Anytime you're grabbing a guy, you're still wrestling. It's not a matter of I have to get the guy down to be wrestling. I just got to get a hold of him. You pummel and push and pull in the hand fight. This is all wrestling. And I see guys getting away from that. I see where some adjustments could be made. But there are adjustments for Ankalaev, who won in the first place. I mean, if we're rematching him, we don't have to hide the fact. We're rematching him to get the belt back around our sport's biggest star. And it's one of these interesting things. I'm just not convinced on anything that I saw Saturday that would be the case.
Yeah, chill. You know what was crazy?
Do you disagree? Do you believe Pierre could win in a rematch?
I think that he would have to make some real adjustments.
Sure.
It's going to be a tough fight every single time, and Ankalaev will be instilled as a bigger favorite this time, and I don't imagine that the general public will bet him down to an underdog.
I agree.
Again, because they've seen it before, and there are some instances where you see a fight or two fighters compete, and you think, well, it looked like he was winning and he got caught, or This time it felt like Ankalaev could fight him in that way a number of times and he'd have a lot of success.
I saw an interview. I saw where Pereira told you, Chael son and no Chama.
Yeah, what?
That's an insult. I don't quite know what that means, but that means he's not happy with old Chael.
I guess Chama means let's go.
Okay.
So Chael, no let's go.
So Chael's good or Chael's bad in that scenario?
I think because you shook his hand.
Right.
And you told a story to me.
Yes.
And I thought it was you complimenting him.
It was. He shook my hand and he said, "How was my handshake?" So I redid it again. He wanted to make sure he did not have a feminine handshake.
Yeah.
When this guy translated to him, he comes out and is telling you that I said he had a feminine handshake.
You
Like,
didn't say that.
No, Alex, I was complimenting you. Then I told you there was an aura around him. When
Yeah, he said that. He said you had the aura.
Yes.
You said he had the aura initially.
But he
and then
felt
the
like
next
that man
time
wanted to fight him. Like there was an aura, like there was an energy between us. It's like, no, man, I was giving you a compliment.
Yeah, you got the glow. You got the glow.
Alex Pereira may shove it up his ass. I don't even get on his good side. I'm just sharing with you. I happen to be a fan, and I happen to give a rare compliment. And what irony that it got misinterpreted.
Unbelievable. He's funny. He was kind of mad at me too because I always agree with you.
Yeah.
But I told him, I go, man, Chael, you get to hating, and it's like it's hard to not just jump on board.
Yeah.
It's like let's do it together. It feels fun.
I want to show you. When I see Ankalaev, I would put this right on his nuts. What's
Why?
his name? He said no Chama Chael, not Ankalaev. I meant
Oh,
I would kick him right in his nuts. That's the thing. Like if we got into it, he'd be thinking, well, unified rules and no touch in the eyes. I'll bite him right in the throat. I don't know. There's some guys you don't cross, and that's before I reach for iron. I'm not just out walking around by myself. What's he talking about? No Chama Chael. No piss off Chael. That's what he should have said.
You're crazy, dude. Hey, Chael. So the co-main event, let's move on before you and Alex Pereira get into a fight. Co-main event had Justin Gaethje in it. So I was on First Take talking to Stephen A. and Molly, and he said, I'm concerned.
How's Molly doing? She asked about me?
Yeah.
I used to work with Molly.
They want to know how Chael.
Yeah,
I said,
tell
he's
him I'm
doing
good.
great.
Tell him I'm
Yeah.
well.
He goes, I'm concerned about him.
Okay.
Everybody had
That's
this
fair.
concern about Justin Gaethje going into that fight.
Okay.
But guess what? He ain't done.
Yep.
He ain't done, and he looked good on Saturday. And in my opinion, he beat a better Rafael Fiziev more convincingly in the second fight
Yes,
than
he
the
did.
first time.
Daniel, we don't get better as fighters by doing it. It's not like soccer or baseball or basketball. We leave a little bit of ourselves out there. We digress, or we can hope to run sideways, but you just don't get better with time. Justin Gaethje is as tough now as he was 5 years ago. He's as tough now as he was 8, 9, and 10 years ago. It's not supposed to be this way. I was so impressed by him. And by the way, you want to know something else about that guy? He's not just a brawler. He brawls, but he's quite a technician.
Yeah,
you see when he was in the plum, he got out of the plum by throwing a cartwheel head kick. You get to the third round. How bad do you want it? Well, let's start with how bad do you need it? He didn't need it. How bad do you want it? It wasn't a number one contenders match. It wasn't a guy that was ranked higher. If in a best case scenario, Justin gets to do what he's already done, which is to beat Fiziev. Like, it really wasn't all that big of a deal in Justin's life. Well, it was to him. He got in the third round, and he was faced with a choice. Do I want this or not? And he chose, I want it. And I was so impressed with him. His integrity, everything I ever wanted to be as a fighter, in terms of how I wanted to be seen or I wanted to see myself, he is. I was so blown away by him. You know, when they talk about your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, that was the performance of the night. That is, to this point, the performance of the year. I cannot say enough good things about Gaethje, specifically in the third round.
Especially after coming back off of what he came back from and what he went through to get here.
Yeah, why doesn't that bother him? Why wasn't he scared like everybody else is?
No.
He started that fight. He walked across the ring and started that fight. That's not what you're supposed to do
Not after
when you
getting
get
knocked
picked
out
up
like
off the
that. No.
canvas.
You're supposed to have a little bit of a, should be a little bit gun shy.
Did you notice his gloves?
Yes. So he said that the UFC rubbed off in the back. We were looking at that, right? I go, wait, what's Justin's gloves? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But people
Ultimate Fighter gloves. I mean, this is the rumor on the internet that he had the gloves from the Ultimate Fighter.
So
They
people
don't
are
put
so
UFC on
stupid.
those.
People are so stupid. So people are, that's one theory.
Sure.
Ultimate Fighter gloves. One was they said Onyx, like Trevor Whitman's company, and they scrubbed it off.
He got even.
I'm like, guys, do you understand that he just said they took UFC off the glove? It's the same exact glove.
Right.
People are just crazy on the internet. Like,
Sure.
And we go to Twitter or X now.
Yep.
And we go there for information.
Right.
And Chael, you and I were speaking about this the other day.
And a heart attack.
That's so bad. I mean, let's not touch that one. But when we talk about, you and I were talking about, we go to X for this information, and then we bring it, and sometimes it's proven to be like, and the show's over. It's like we can't go back and correct it. It's
we
like,
repeat it as though it's so, because we both saw the same tweet.
Two people with the same information, what makes it true. It's just the way it is.
The Onyx conspiracy was very interesting, though, because it went like this. There was a countdown show where the UFC blurred Onyx out, but the UFC has a deal with another fight gym called the UFC Gyms. So they couldn't put Onyx in it, and that Gaethje was getting even, that he got in the back, so he took their logos off. pettiness in this organization goes a long way, and Justin Gaethje would never make that mistake.
No, he didn't do that.
One of the boys.
No, he didn't do that. It got rubbed off.
Gaethje.
You can trust Gaethje, but in terms of his performance, it was nice, man. It was amazing, and it puts him back in line for big things.
Sure.
So what's next? Do you stick him in there with Islam? Because it feels like Topuria is going to get a title fight, but if not, Gaethje could fit in there. I mean, hey, right place, right time. Dustin Poirier, right? Dustin Poirier after winning in Miami, UFC 299. Arman Tsarukyan said, I'm not ready yet. Poirier slips his way into a title fight. That could happen for Justin Gaethje. People asked him about fighting Dustin Poirier a third time. He said, our families don't deserve to see us fight again. Yeah. What do you want to see next for the highlight?
I love the idea of him getting a title fight, but I just don't think we can give him one. I think I'm saying that because I like him. I mean, he's 1-1 in his last 2. However, don't forget there is a title. Max has it.
Yeah.
Why they wouldn't rematch or possibly rematch? Yes, Max is the one that put Justin down at 300. Yeah. And it was some people call it the greatest. About? Well, some people have called it the greatest fight.
How the hell
could
I forget that?
It's going to be knockout of the year for sure. And for me, it's one of the most entertaining fights I've ever seen. Nobody has discussed, though. I think that people are forgetting Max walked away from 45. Max is now at 55.
Yeah.
He's got a belt.
I got something for you.
Okay.
Max Poirier.
Okay.
Done. Let's just go back and do Gaethje Hooker. I mean, it was right there, right?
Hooker.
Why not just go do Gaethje Hooker?
Let's do Gaethje Hooker.
If we're not putting him in a title fight with Islam, let's just revisit what we had already. Something that very rarely is a fight announced and it's universally praised. John Jones, when his fight against Tom Aspinall gets announced, there will not be a section of fans that goes, well, it should have been this guy, or it should be this guy. When they announced Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje, everybody was like, I'm in. Let's go back and do that.
I like that idea a lot. That might be exactly where they go with it. Justin in a title shot is a little bit of us still caught up in the excitement of what we saw Saturday. He's just not going to get in there for a belt. I am curious at 55, though. I mean, it's one of the more curious divisions right now. We know that Artem could get a title shot, considering he already had one signed. We know that Max fits in there nicely. We saw everything that Justin did. Hooker is on his way up. I don't think we're going to punish him. And I'm just sharing. It doesn't look like any of those are going to get it. Ilia Topuria is undefeated champion of the world. I believe wherever he is a title opportunity, but they didn't announce it. And if they didn't announce it, there is room to hold out hope that Ilia is going to have one fight first, because Ilia versus Islam's a big fight, but that's where it ends. That is not crazy blockbuster business. That is not going to do Aspinall Jones. You give Ilia one victory over a Charles, over an Artem, over a Gaethje, and then you make that poster for him and Islam, we're having a completely different conversation, to the point that I would believe that would be as big as Jones and Aspinall.
Especially if he does it better.
Yes.
Or even close to how Islam did it. Then your imagination can start to go crazy for you. Hey, but Ilia said that when it's announced, we'll all be surprised, right? Fighters are a little bit of a different breed to me. Because he goes, when you find out what's happening next, your mind's going to be blown. If he announces that he's fighting Islam Makhachev, it's not going to blow my mind.
That's what I would expect.
It's kind of what I expect to happen. So why does he think like our mind's going to be blown?
When he threw that out there, when he said, hey, when you see what I'm doing next, this is a guy that's been in the spotlight. This is a guy that fought for world championships. He just fought the GOAT and possibly became it himself. So to make a title shot would not surprise us in the least. That's where names like Conor McGregor.
Yes.
That's where,
I'm fighting Conor McGregor.
Right.
Oh my God, Ilia, you blew my mind.
Like, I can't think of anything else that Ilia would do. The Ilia Charles rumor was out there at the time that he said it's going to blow our minds. I like that fight. Mind blown? Not necessarily. And that's where opportunity does exist for something wild that doesn't guarantee a title shot against Islam now. Because if we could just kick that can one fight, it's completely different. Not to mention, say it was against Artem. That would establish Artem as well. Let's say it was with Charles. Artem.
Sarukian?
Yeah, Arman
Sarukian. Yeah. Hey, chill.
That's what I meant.
They're making Artem is the guy that sued Conor McGregor because Artem thought
he lost that lawsuit.
Well, of course he did.
Conor offered him $1 million.
Artem Lobov thought that because you and I are sitting there, and I go, chill, man. Hey, could you imagine if we started our own alcohol?
I was embarrassed.
Hey, and you didn't go and start the alcohol being the name and the entire meaning behind the business. That was my idea.
Yep.
Hey, chill. I bet if we started a alcohol, don't even call it the bad guy. Just say, why don't you make a liquor?
Yep.
And then you go off and do everything to make the liquor. I'm entitled to this. What's wrong with Arthur, man?
Robert De Niro will not speak to people. Robert De Niro, wherever he goes, he has a guy. And that could be a waitress. Comes over. Would you like a Coke? Robert will talk to the waitress.
Yeah.
And then the guy tells the waitress yes or no. The reason is he got sued on this. He was somewhere. Somebody came up and pitched him an idea. Years later, he made a movie, and they came back and sued him. So there is actually a small precedence if the idea germinated with you. And Conor didn't really deny that. He just said, hey, we didn't do this together.
No.
Me and Adi went and did this. So Artem wasn't totally without legal argument, but he should have taken that $1 million. When C-Mac came in with a check. C-Mac didn't even talk to him. He just brought him a check.
Nobody's going to say, yeah,
That's
man.
what a friend does. I feel like Conor's hands were clean in that.
Yeah, but nobody's going to go, hey, yeah, man, you told him, like, hey, man, we should start an alcohol together. And then you made a $1 billion deal, and now you're entitled to the money. It's great.
What about the $1 million?
I would have took the million. I would have took the million.
He's out there fighting Paul
Because at the end
for
of the day,
$100,000. He could have got $1 million.
Because at the end of the day, you didn't do it. You got $1 million for telling your buddy.
I took no risk.
Bro, I swear to God. And guess what? I want my money, my cousin Terry. Chael, I swear this to you. You can believe me or not.
Is this Fat Terry?
No, he's not.
That's Fat Shane.
Yeah, Fat Shane. Terry's a sheriff in Orange County.
Yeah.
Bro, do you remember the Game Boy? It was called the Game Boy.
Of course. Tetris.
He created it.
Swear to God.
I swear to God, my cousin created the Game Boy. Bro,
Like he just said, make a device that I can fit in my hand?
It's like Artem.
Okay.
He shows up to school in 4th grade, dude. We're talking 1985, 86. And he has this paper. He's so proud of what he just drew.
Sure.
Bro, it is the Game Boy.
Wow.
It was a square little box with the D-pad, 2 buttons, select and start with a little screen.
Wow.
I was like, yo, what is this? He goes, I came up with this idea for a handheld video game. He created the Game Boy.
That's impressive.
But he had no way of patenting it.
Of course.
Because we didn't know that. We're in the ghetto, man. We're just drawing
And
shit.
nobody knows how to make a Game Boy. Sure.
And nobody knew how to patent stuff back in the 80s. You had to call a phone number
Yep.
to get something patented. My cousin created the Game Boy.
Do you want to know the workaround? The workaround is to write down your idea like he brought to you and then mail it to yourself and don't open it. You got to open it in court after it's been stamped by the federal government. That's the only way you can prove the time frame that you came up with your idea.
How's a little poor kid in Lafayette, Louisiana know to go to the mailbox and put that back?
I was just sharing that with you for your other poor friends in Lafayette.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else that they're going to create.
When you mail that letter, you mail it to Westland, to my neighbors. We'll know what to do with it.
You'll know what to do with it. And then at the end of the day, we'll be at your door knocking.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you think I can get a little money for this? You'd be like, I'm not even giving you $1 million.
What would happen if I brought Sheriff Terry a check for $1 million and
he would have took that check?
You. He takes the check.
Of course, Arthur
come back and sue me later.
He does.
The prick.
Okay, let's get back on track because we were off topic. Anyhow, the fighting nerds, right? We give these guys a bunch of credit for being fun, being exciting.
I fought a bunch of nerds. But go ahead.
They got jackets now.
Yeah.
They got jackets. They're wearing these glasses. It's actually a cool thing. Joe, you want to know their record? They're 23-3 in the UFC. The Fighting Nerds team. But there's a bit of a caveat there.
Okay.
Bruno Brazil is 1-3, I believe. Bohalho, Prates, Jean Silva, Mauricio Ruffy.
Jean Silva's tough.
22-0, dude.
Whoa.
22-0. Now, Chael, we have seen these young teams, these upstart teams come. There's some blue bloods in fighting. American Top Team, a.k.a.
Sure.
Now it's the South Florida, whatever. I can't remember the name of the team.
Stanford MMA, Black Zillions.
They've been around for a while.
They keep changing their name.
Jackson's MMA was one. Faraz Zahabi.
It annoys me they changed their name, by the way. It annoys me.
But
go ahead.
The sponsor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we've seen these upstart teams. Fortis MMA for a while, right? They all came up the Contender Series. They were winning every fight. And then the level of the competition raised, and they start to kind of come back to the world.
Sure.
These guys aren't necessarily losing as the competition level is raising. I mean, the leader, Bohalho, has already beaten Jared Cannonier and so many other guys. They're fighting real guys. Have we ever seen anything like this?
No.
With that type of swagger, too. They have this swagger about them.
Dwayne Ludwig, who was coaching and in the sport forever, and he moved out to Alpha Male. Uriah Faber brought him in. They did a deal, and Dwayne got to 12-0. And that was shocking news.
Yep.
I remember we were on Fox Sports at the time, and they were breaking that into UFC Tonight. Steve Becker was all excited about it. I mean, it was a very real thing. That was 12 and 0. And by the way, that was a lot. 22? They won 22 fights, so they're 23-3 overall. Dan, I used to lie about my record.
The one girl lost all
3
those
times.
fights.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but the Fighting Nerds, did you know she was part of Fighting Nerds?
No. No. But I like
so
the name Bruna.
I could have left that out, and I could have told you they were 22 and 0, and you'd be like,
but I know Bahalio and I know Gene Silva.
Because it still doesn't feel like it's any different. To me, it's 22 and 0. Because to me, the Fighting Nerds are Silva, Prates, who's amazing.
Sure.
Fighting against, who's Prates fighting next week?
No one knows. That's the thing. We're not going to tell.
Because we're just going to, because you know Prates is fighting.
Yeah.
No,
we're not even going to tell anyone when it's over. No, even when it's over, we're not going to talk about it. We're never going to tell anybody. That's the marketing on this.
Because it's all about him?
Yeah, like a mystery fight.
It's a UFC.
That's called humor. It's very popular amongst Americans. It's very popular to do on television at times. It's called entertainment. I am joking.
He's fighting Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal.
That's a great fight.
I was buying you a beat.
Time.
I was buying you a beat.
You're the best.
Jeff Neal.
You're the best.
I was trying to look out for you.
He's fighting Jeff Neal, right?
Now, what if I wasn't here and you were telling someone a story about me? Would I be Unk or would I be fat something? Would I be the sheriff? Yeah,
the bad guy, Big Chael.
Yeah. Because you think I look
look
good, right?
You got in
when
shape
Terry
for the
watches
show.
this, Terry thinks that
you got in shape for the show.
All right.
Shane thinks stuff like, man, I don't know if I could sit next to Chael. It's intimidating.
Wow.
Yeah, you're intimidating.
I did do a cycle for the show, though. That is true.
You did?
Yeah. New stuff. Ordered from something called a compounding pharmacy.
Don't tell me this stuff, Chael, please, man.
Well,
you're like the bad friend. Like, you're like the devil on the shoulder. Like, hey, man, you don't complete no more, man. You can feel a lot better.
Some guys don't like coming in second.
But what's the ceiling for this team?
A little vial of champion juice right into Chael's ass every Monday at 9.
Chael,
what's the topic?
What's the ceiling for this Fighting Nerds team?
You can lift and you can follow your diet, or there is another way. Okay, these guys were recognized in our industry as Team of the Year by the World MMA Awards. And that's a big deal. In our industry, that's the biggest thing that we got. They come on a stage, they put the glasses on. Now they got you wearing it, they got Rogan wearing it. Like, it might be a small gimmick. It still works. I'm into it. What a simple gimmick to grab some glasses and put some tape. And by the way, I saw these guys three or four times before I realized it was a gimmick. I thought look at that nerd's glasses. Like, I was stickered about it. No, he's on the undercard. Soon he'll be able to get a new pair of glasses. I thought about sending him a pair of glasses just to be nice, like at a charity, like from an unmarked box. I thought the kid was poor. I thought he was like from Lafayette or something. I was going to get him some glasses like they wear in West Lynn. No, this is really what I thought. Then they start beating everybody up. I'm not sure they don't qualify for a world title fight. Gene Silva stole that press conference, by the way.
Yeah, he did.
He stole that. He comes up there with a globe. He starts telling them that the world's round. That's funny.
Bryce thinks it's flat.
I understand, but that's still simple humor. To have a globe or to tape your glasses, you're not threatening. You're not using profanity. It's great. It's simple. I'm into the Fighting Nerds.
And they're winning.
Yeah.
And ultimately they're winning. And Mauricio Ruffy hit King Green with a spinning kick the other day. Boy, was that hard.
It's
best hard to watch. It's hard to watch King Green go out like that because he's been around for so long. But, dude, when this dude kicked him in the head, he goes down. And then the worst part is, like, there's bad knockouts, right? Getting knocked out is horrible.
Sure.
I hate that when I got knocked out, I was trying to push myself up and my body's just not working.
Sure.
Like everything. But to fall down like King Green did, and then when your face hits the ground, you just kind of like slide.
Yep.
Because you're sweaty and the mat's wet.
Yeah.
That's the worst, man.
You don't have arms? You have no arms there, so you just...
I don't want to laugh. That's bad.
Poor King Green.
When you fall and you slide like that, man.
Yeah. King Green's tough as an old leather boot. That kick would have put down a small mule. I mean, nobody was going to take that. But to see the dynamicness of that team, really, they have a group of really good athletes, and we have very few teams in this sport. We call it a team, but these guys that never talk to each other if they want to do, or they come
Show
in
up for training camp.
Man.
Yep.
These guys are very legit. Khabib's team is very legit. I think maybe there's something to be said in this industry for getting a group together that can all rise each other up. I mean, the Fighting Nerds do deserve credit.
You remember before.
And they are a bunch of nerds. Like, they came as advertised. I can't accuse them of false advertising. They are some dorks.
Dude, for a while they were like saying, hey, these super camps aren't great. These big teams, you need to focus on just you. I think the sport went away from that a little bit, but I do believe that the team is very important. Last thing before we go.
A chemical monstrosity.
What is that,
We're
Chill?
back to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chill. Robert.
That's for Ray. Ray's laughing in the corner. Ray, this is called an audience. I'm performing, Daniel.
You're good. You can
All right,
just stand
Robert.
up.
What do you got on Robert? There's no Roberts around. Bob?
There is.
Who? Bob?
Robert Glenn Lawler.
I apologize.
Robert Glenn Lawler. Yes.
I'm sorry.
You should apologize because
I do.
he was a bad boy, wasn't he?
Awesome.
He was so good. And he got announced to the Hall of Fame the other day.
Daniel.
Dude, how about the fact that every time Robbie Lawler looks like he's going to cry, it makes you want to cry because you know how tough he is?
Right. That was a powerful moment. Daniel, if I was tasked, I know. It was incredible. Well, to be recognized by the industry, this is a totally different deal, man. You can't campaign for it.
Yep.
Okay. It was a big deal. And I was happy that happened to him. But I will just share for you. If I had to be tasked with putting a picture of a cage fighter in the dictionary next to the term cage fighter, it is Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler was Justin Gaethje before Justin Gaethje was Justin Gaethje. Imagine Robbie Lawler versus Justin Gaethje. And one thing about Lawler, he started at 19 years old. I remember his first fight with Aaron Riley. He then goes into Tiki Goshen. He still wasn't old enough to have a drink in the bar yet. Daniel, at 33, became world champion. It took him some time. It took him time to learn how to fight in those 4th and 5th rounds. He used to just come out and do a sprint. Generally, there's nobody left standing, but if there was, it was a big problem. He got better with time. He got more mature with time. That was the thing that impressed me about him most. His fights with Robbie Lawler, his fights with Condit, not Robbie Lawler, Johnny Hendricks, his fights with Condit. I mean, my goodness, these are things to write home about. His fight with Matt Brown, those could all go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one of my favorite moments was when he retired, and he had the greatest retirement. Remember, he knocks out Nico Price in the first round. They run a freaking 4-minute package. And he gets to watch himself as a little kid all the way to the man that he was today. He's tearing up. I'm crying with Robbie Lawler because Robbie Lawler does not look like a guy that cries.
Sure.
So, yes, Chael, getting recognized by the people that matter in this business, by your peers, is truly what's great. But when I think about him as a fighter, all I think about, dude, is that Rory McDonald, fight
Mick, but
Roy McDonald.
You're putting a Mac in, like a Big Mac.
I was thinking McElroy, but Rory McDonald, and they beat each other from pillar to post.
Oh my goodness!
And then Robbie's like screaming at him at the end of the round with blood coming out of his. He's like yelling at Rory. Rory goes back to the corner. Remember, Rory was a wonder kid. He was going to be the man that changed it. He was George St. Pierre 2.0.
Yes, he was.
He never was the same after that night. Nope. And, bro, when they got to that last round when Rory got finished, Robbie's still pressing him. Blood's everywhere. Robbie hits him with a jab and a right hand, and Rory McDonald just goes, enough. He turns and slowly goes to the ground like, this dude's a psychopath. Yep. I'm not winning this fight. Yep. I'm just beat Chael. Yep. Sometimes you're in there with a guy and you're like, I'm hitting him as hard as I can. I know that my skill level equals his, but there's something about this dude that on this night, I'm not beating him. And he literally he just turned and he was like, enough. I don't know if I've seen that in the octagon many times.
Particularly from somebody as tough as Rory. You've never seen Rory flinch or well. And I remember Rory was hugging him afterward. Man, his eye, he just destroyed. They're both bleeding. They're talking. It was great. The spit's coming. It was this whole thing. And I remember when Rory told him, "You're a tough son of a bitch." Rory told him. Yeah, and it really was a big compliment. And Robbie doesn't know how to accept compliments, so he just stood there like
he gets weird.
He doesn't know how to act when we praise him. He'd be uncomfortable if he sees this right now. But man, Rory McDonald was special. He went from not being able to breathe beyond 5 minutes to pushing the pace harder in the 5th round. Yeah. He won world championships off the 5th round. He won the fight you're talking about right now off the 5th round. It really was something amazing to see. I talked to his teammates, and they said his training totally changed. They said one day he comes in and he's the first guy in the gym. He's the last one to leave. One day he goes and introduces himself to the Aerodyne bike. He really embraced the conditioning. And it turned out that's the only thing that was missing. 33 years old. Dreams do come true.
Unbelievable, man. And for Robbie Lawler, congratulations, man. We all enjoyed you, but that was great. Hey, if you're going to put cage fighter in the dictionary, stick Robbie Lawler's picture right next to it. Guys, we have no show on Thursday. They're giving us a day off. That does not happen here. Eh? It's amazing that they're giving us a day off.
It's usually just crack the whip. Get in there.
Show up at 7:30. You better be there. The show starts at 7:30. You better be there by 7:07.
Talk about your friends and shit. Stay focused. Stay on topic.
Okay, just stay on topic. It's air. We get beat on Monday. We get whipped on Thursday by air. Jake and Kirsten.
Don't curse. Don't talk about steroids. There's so many rules. There's so many rules over here.
But we do love it. Guys, no show on Thursday. Chael and I will see you next Monday. For Chael P, I'm DC. Peace.
Pereira is looking for you.